Okay, so everybody set for ballot.
All right, my name is Lincoln Schrock. This is Lucas Walden and Joel Connolly. We're from Mr. Hamill's Corvallis chemistry class. So we did our experiment on the use of indoor appliances and their effects on particulate matter on the indoors. Our question was, does the use of everyday appliances affect these levels in our homes? Our hypothesis was that there would be an increase in PM 2.5 levels in rooms with running appliances, simply because that running these would kick up dust or burn particles, creating smoke. Just some background, in America, we spend 90% of our day indoors, whether it be at work, school, or at home. Adults and children can form symptoms of asthma because of poor air quality. The circle graph shows that 95% of households have at least one appliance and less than 5 don't.
Our procedure prior to testing was to designate a dust track location. During our testing, we ran the dust track for 7 hours in the kitchen. We used common household appliances at different times. After the test, we recorded our data and analyzed it and graphed it.
Alright, on test 1, the first spike is a toaster, and we believe it was that high because the toast probably got burnt somewhat. The second was a vacuum cleaner, and we believe it was high because it kicked up dust. And the green line is the PM 2.5 levels, and the blue line is the EPA recommended. Alright, on test 2, the first spike was the stovetop. We cooked bacon, and that was most likely because it burned bacon. The middle one was, we don't know what that was, but the last one was microwave. On this one, it was an oven. We cooked a pizza, and it was high because it burnt the pizza. The last one was a toaster oven. We cooked a bagel.
Our conclusion, given the data recovered from the experiment, we concluded that our hypothesis was correct due to the fluctuation in PM 2.5 levels when the appliances were operated. Improvements and changes that we could have done is more tests, controlled more variables, and have controlled baseline on tests. Questions?
Yes.
Was the bagel the only thing you didn't burn?
It wasn't actually burnt. We just
toasted.
Figure that it is burning it. That's what makes it toasted. But
Okay.
all right.
Where did you run the vacuum cleaner? Was that in the kitchen area too, or was that in a room a little bit away?
Well, in my kitchen, there's like a half a wall. It's like this high, and on the other side is the carpeted area.
Yeah, we've had a couple of projects now dealing with bacon. My question is, did anyone bring any bacon? Love bacon.
Sorry, not us.
Were all of these done in the same kitchen?
No, the different tests were done in different ones.
Was the room size and ventilation and these other variables about the same?
It's about the same. There's probably some variables that we didn't account for, but it's generally the same.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, hello, my name is Sean Bummer, and here's Franzi Gerwers, Ed Kapuzinski, Riley Logan, Nicole Riley, and Amanda Gonzalez. And today we tested, well, not today, but for our project we tested the effect of air quality corresponding to the amount of pets in a home. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. And our purpose of this experiment was to see if the amount of pets in a household affects the indoor air quality of the household. And our hypothesis for this experiment was that we expected the indoor air quality to worsen when there are more pets in the house. And we believe that this will happen because the pets bring in more air particles, which would mean that the more pets, the more particles there would be.
Okay, so then our procedure, we just took home the dust tracks to different houses and ran them for about 24 hours each. And then we turned them off and analyzed the data. And we had some guidelines. We had the dependent variable of the air quality, which we wanted to test. Then we had the independent one of the number of pets each house had. And we had a constant no smoking houses to make it easier to analyze the data.
So basically, our results didn't coincide with our hypothesis at all. For example, with 3 pets, there was worse air quality than 4 pets.
And according to our data, there was no correlation between the amount of pets in the house and the air quality in the house, but we didn't consider all of the variables that we should have. Instead of just having the non-smoking variable, we should have considered how many people were in the house, whether or not the windows were open, and such things as the air conditioning in the house, and see how that affected it. See kind of variables there were. And more of what I just said in reading form for you guys. My last one. And thank you guys for listening. It was kind of confusing there, but does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. So in some of your samples, you had good reproducibility between test 1 and test 2, and some you had a big spread. Do you have an explanation for why there was a fairly large spread in some of those?
Well, on some of them, we took them at different points of different times. For instance, on the 4 pets, one was done in the winter and one was done closer to spring. So if we would do this over again, we would take into account the weather outside. Yes?
What did you classify as a pet? Does the guinea pig count the same as a pet as a dog?
No, we were considering our pets as dogs because that's what most people have in their households nowadays. So.
Okay, nice job.
So another person, and we have a Butte group coming up. Butte America. So another person we'd like to recognize is Tim Norbeck. Is he here? So Tim is the principal and the bus driver, so welcome.
All righty. Ours is called Pellet Stoves, the Silent Killer. And I'm Shannon Doherty Murray, and this is my colleague Sean Ferreter.
Buddy. All right, our question was, will using a pellet stove make the air quality in your house worse than it already is? And the pellet stove, our hypothesis was that the pellet stove will emit more air toxins into your house.
Here's a nice picture of different heating sources and their emissions. And our background info is pellet stoves are among the cleanest of wood-burning heating sources. Wood-burning fireplaces have the highest particle emission, while electric heating emits none.
Okay, this is our procedure. We performed 3 tests with the dust track. The first 2 tested air toxins with a pellet stove running, and the last one in a home with no pellet stove. We tested for 12 hours, 5 hours, and 9.
Here's our first set of results with a pellet stove, and when the graph went up is when the pellet stove was running, and then it would gradually decrease after the pellet stove stopped. And we tested from about 9:30 to 1 in the morning on a cold winter's night. And there's our results.
And then this is about just the same results. We tested about 2 weeks later, but it was the same temperature. And the pellet stove kicks on, as you can see in the spikes, and then goes off, and it automatically turn on when it get cold enough. So that's when the spikes would happen.
And here's a control test. This was with a gas stove, and it goes up and down, but it's on a much lower scale than the pellet stove. So pellet stove is a lot higher.
And this is our conclusion. After testing the air toxin with a pellet stove running and then testing without a pellet stove, we can conclude that the pellet stove emits a substantial amount of air toxins. This proves our hypothesis to be correct.
Any questions?
What were the units on your y-axis? I couldn't tell from your plots.
The Y go for the control is go back. Well, for the first was what, between 0 and 0.85.
0.85
milligrams per meter cubed.
Oh,
yeah. And then for the next one is between 0 and 1.2 milligrams per meter cubed, and then the control is between 0 and 0.014. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Spacebar or the arrows to move your slides.
Okay.
And just keep an eye on me for the timing.
Okay.
And other than that, you should be good to go.
Hi, my name is Tara Sullivan.
I'm Kaya Morrison. Our question was, is there a noted difference between the PM 2.5 levels inside a car with the air conditioning running and a car without? We hypothesized that the PM 2.5 levels with the air conditioning turned on will be higher than without. To test our hypothesis, we ran the dust track meter the entire time. For the first 5 minutes, we sat the car idling for 5 minutes without the fan on. For the next 5 minutes, we ran the fan for 5 minutes while we were still idling. And next 5 minutes, we drove on residential streets and highways for another 5 minutes without the fan. And we drove the same route for 5 minutes with the fan running. Just so you can see this, the center console is where we placed the dust track meter while we were testing.
Our results, the first 5 minutes, let's see. Okay, the first 5 minutes were from 12:30 to 12:34, and they were the car while it was idling without the fan on, and those were the lowest results. And the average was 0.006. And then, let's see, the next was from 12:35 to 12:39. We ran the car idling with the fan on, and the average there, it spiked at first to 0.008, and that could be because of the dust in the fan belt. And then we started driving at 12:40, and driving without the fan on, our average was 0.0074, so there was a slight increase. And then driving with the fan on, is from 12:45 to 12:49, and that was, our average was 0.012. So this is just explaining our averages and the increase that after we turned the fan on each time, there was a slight increase, and then it kind of leveled out, probably due to the fact that there is dust within the fan that was blowing out at first, and then as the fan ran, the dust got circulated. And so those are just some of those averages. Overall, during our experiment, the average PM 2.5 level was 0.0077 milligrams per meter cubed, and that's well below the EPA limit. The max that we encountered was the 0.013 while driving with the fan turned on. This information shows that the particulate level does rise with the fan on versus off, and driving versus idling increases the particulate level for probably a variety of reasons. Variables we did not consider. We could have measured a more varied weather conditions. We just measured one day and it was pretty temperate climate out, and we could have measured a different variety of cars in order to get broader results. We also didn't take into account any problems with the car that were unknown to us or external factors. So is there any questions? Yeah.
What do you think that if you were driving behind another vehicle and you had the fan on or off, which one would give you probably higher readings inside your car?
There would probably be higher readings with the fan on if you're right behind another vehicle, because the car takes in the air from outside and circulates it into the car. Yes?
Most cars have a little control on the dashboard that lets you recirculate the indoor air in the car or outside. Did you talk about that in your?
The car we tested on, actually, I noticed didn't have that button, so I just assumed that all of the air was coming from the outside.
Okay, thank you.
IMB for the timing.
Okay, thanks. Predicting temperature inversions with an artificial neural network, or AN, in order to predict air quality. I'm Brandon Shannon from Sentinel High School under my teacher, Mr. Taylor. So let's start out with the problem is, can an artificial neural network, or AN, be used to predict temperature inversions? But the real problem I looked at is that picture right there. You can see the Missoula Valley in a temperature inversion, which is a huge amount of pollution in the inhaled air that's basically trapped there due to the temperature inversion. So a temperature inversion is a stable meteorological event where a warm layer of air traps cooler layers of air below it, basically eliminating any vertical transport of pollutants in inhaled air. And it basically deteriorates air quality extremely. And the ability to predict air quality is extremely important to public health. Unfortunately, there's no standard accepted methods other than case-by-case analysis for predicting these inversions. Case-by-case analysis is just local meteorologists, such as Russ Thomas, that know the area and can look at temperature inversions and say that I think this is going to happen. So again, this is just a demonstration of why these are so such a big problem in the Missoula Center and all urban valley centers. The inversion stops all vertical transport, and if you have the valley center, there's no horizontal transport of the pollution. So the background on the AN, or the artificial neural network, is actually a computer program I use to predict these temperature inversions. So it's a nonlinear statistical data modeling tool that's used to model complex relationships between often common variables. It's kind of a new thing that have come around with computer programmers in the past couple years. So it works a lot like your brain in 3 steps. It uses a first set of data to train itself, a second set to validate itself, and then a third to predict. And that's kind of like we make observations, then we make sure that happens again, and then once that happens, we can make predictions. So each step, you know a different variable or layer, as you can see in this demonstration. So in the training stage, you know the input and the output, and the computer is trying to find that hidden node, it's called, to find that relationship between the input and the output. In the validation, you know all 3, and you're just trying to make sure that the input, the hidden, and the output actually work together like they're supposed to. And in the prediction, you know the input and the hidden node, and you're actually predicting with the output. So the procedure I use is the AN just analyzed basic meteorological data, temperature, pressure, wind speed, and humidity. And the AN was provided with this data from sample times twice daily, and then I just obtained the meteorological data from the National Weather Service, and then NASA publishes periods of inversion for the Missoula area through their air satellite. So running the AN was actually extremely resource intensive. This computer program takes a lot, and I actually ended up using a home business server just because a regular desktop computer couldn't handle it. I trained the AN on data from 2004 and 2005, validated it on data from 2006 and 2007, and then tested it on its prediction of 2008. So the AN predicts the probability of inversion based on those meteorological data for that day. And then because this is the Missoula area, we typically only see inversions November through February. So I just use this for my time periods of each year. And then currently the prediction model is trained on the Missoula, Montana area. So this is just an example of what a data sample would look like from my project. You would have the date, the prediction that the AN gives you for the day of an inversion, and then whether or not there was actually an inversion that day. And obviously, it's just a sample. There'd be a lot more data than that in the actual AN. So the result is the AN reported a 57% confidence level. So what that means is that anything above 57% that the AN predicts for that day for an inversion, you could have an inversion that day. However, of those predictions above 57%, only about 54% of them were reliable or true. So what this means is, though this isn't statistically significant, it could have practical uses right now, especially considered with other forecasting models. Right about that 60% is where most meteorologists consider their accuracy to lie. And then for such a small and limited sample size, it's able to predict inversions with strictly numeric values, which is something that, to my research, hasn't been done before. So the next step is obviously just further expansion of the sample size and area to hopefully produce a very accurate model, and then maybe incorporate this in forecasting. I'd just like to thank my teachers for getting me here and answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
Did you ever actually test the air when there was a temperature inversion?
No, I didn't actually do any of the actual data collecting. I just obtained that from the National Weather Service. And then NASA, they determine whether or not they considered an inversion. They don't have steps, so I just went with their Boolean of whether or not there was an inversion that day or not.
Okay.
Which artificial neural network software did you actually use?
I used one, an open source from Open Dimension software. That answers your question.
Where else has temperature inversions that this would be useful for?
Basically, any urban valley center usually has temperature inversions. I know a lot of the western Montana cities like Butte and Kalispell also experience these problems, as well as some of the larger cities over on the west coast.
I just have one question on the table that you gave in the middle column there. You had a row of numbers. What exactly were those numbers representing?
So those numbers were a decimal value that was the percentage of an inversion for that day, if that makes sense.
Does that mean that's how strong the inversion was, or are you saying the probability of an inversion existing?
The probability of an inversion existing, yes.
Okay, nice job. Les Thomas would like to talk to you after the symposium to verify that 60% level. Is that a bit high?
60. No, I'm like 82.
Okay.
Flip a coin. It's your pointer if you want it. And just keep an eye on me for the time.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I did inside versus outside in the rain. I am Lauren Adamman. My partner, Brian Walsh, couldn't be here today, so I'm doing this all by myself. I'm from Corvallis High School, and my teacher is Mr. Hamill. What do you think the difference of air particles tested indoors compared to air particles tested outdoors while raining? Our hypothesis, the air tested outside will be cleaner from the air tested inside. Prior to testing, we decided to place the pump inside and outside. Our outside was on the porch of Brian's house, and that is across the street from my house.
And on the inside, we did that in my house, and that was in a spare room. During testing, we placed a shield over the recorder on the outside. After testing, we recorded 1 hour's worth of data. Our graph, we had the white line is the outside, and as you see, there's a spike that was in between 505 and 510, and this graph is measured in micrograms per cubic meter. The yellow line is the EPA recommend safety level for the air. Improvements and changes that we could have improved our presentation, definitely taking longer samples, such as a 24-hour period. Second is how heavy the rainpour is. Was it a drizzle or was it excessive rain? Another change would be to have taken the samples on the same day instead of a different day, and having 2 machines would have helped in that with bettering our data. So in conclusion, our hypothesis was correct, and the air tested outside was cleaner than the air tested inside. Any questions?
Could you show me the plot with the big bump in it and explain that? Because it didn't, so it looks like outdoors has a bump. When was it raining? Was it raining the whole time?
It was raining the whole time. The outdoors was that Brian did, and he said that it was raining the whole time, and that that's what he told me, so.
So you don't know what the spike came from?
I don't actually. If I'm kind of thinking that the wind was blowing, or something must have happened, or something. He has dogs as well as I do, so that could have, if the dogs were around the recorder, something could have spiked that.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
So in the spirit of recognizing people that are not from around here, so we have another visiting professor from the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston, so Maria Morandi. Can you raise your hand, say hello to everybody? Maria is an expert on air quality, so she's taking this all in.
So just kind of, whoever's talking, try to be on this side so you get a little bit of both. You can use the space bar or the arrows to move your slides, and there is a laser pointer if you want it, and just keep an eye on me for the timing, okay?
Sweetness. All right, my name is Benjamin Van Note. This is Skylar Mousley, and this is Kyle Ludicky. We're from Corvallis High School. Our teacher's Mr. Hamill. We tested the air quality of the living quarters, just normal households, with the air quality of Papa Murphy's, where I work. And so, what's wrong with a better team? There we go. Okay, all right, so our question was, is there a significant difference in the levels of PM 2.5 between the Papa Murphy's Pizza Parlor and their houses, basically, normal kind of household? We assumed, we kind of guessed that since Papa Murphy's is cleaned more regularly and maintained a lot more than most houses, I think, that it would be better, breathing kind of thing. So that's what our hypothesis was. That's a picture of Papa Murphy's. It's a take and bake pizza parlor, for those of you that don't know that. You take it, you cook it at home. So there's no baking in there and there's no smoking or anything like that, so that's kind of what that is. And the dust track was placed in the employee area out of customer site for about 4 hours and 45 minutes. And that is a graph of kind of what ended up happening there. from 4:32 till after close, at 9:12 o'clock is about when it ended. And it kind of went all over the place. And the red line there is a 35 level. That's like the max ideal PM 2.5. So it was pretty kind of over the line. So.
Alrighty, so this is my house. And the house, it has 4 people living in the house. And it also has 2 dogs and 2 cats. And the dust track was put in the largest bedroom, which one dog sleeps in, which kicks up a lot of dust and hair and stuff. And the dust track ran for 4 hours and 45 minutes. Alright, so this is the graph. It started at 6 and ended at 10:40. So a few of the spikes were when the dog came in and kicked around some dust. The red line stands for the max ideal PM 2.5, which is the 35 line. And some of the spikes were just when somebody walked in the room or something was going on.
This would be my house, residence to 4 people, 1 wood burning stove, no smokers, and 1 dog. The dust track was placed in the living room in which the wood burning stove was in operation. And as you can tell, this is the graph. Not much happened. As you can see, 1 little spike at the beginning, and then it kind of just sloped off from there. And the red line is the max ideal PM 2.5, as my partner said.
Here's a graph of all 3 of our data put together. The top one, the red one, that's Papa Murphy's. It peaks up to almost 80. It's consistently above the max ideal. And the green one is the first household that we talked about, and this purple one's the 3rd. And so as you can tell, obviously the households are a lot better air quality than the pizza parlor. And there's a graph of the averages. The average for Papa Murphy's was 54, the other ones were in the 30 range. So we concluded that both households showed a lot lower levels of PM 2.5 than Papa Murphy's. This is probably because Papa Murphy's is more regularly trafficked and busier than the houses. There's a lot of people, more people there. We didn't exactly use the same time of day for each test because it just didn't work out that way. And we could have tested houses that had more of the same amount of people in each house, just gathering more information so that it'd be more across the board. So that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I was just curious, I saw, 3 different spikes with Papa Murphy's, and I was curious what was going on there. Was it a particular time where there was higher traffic, or was there something going on inside the store that may be a little different than other times? You see 3 or 4 times where it bumps up and down real quick.
All I can speculate is that I know about after 5 o'clock is when people start getting off work and coming in to buy pizza. That's kind of where some of the spikes are. There's probably different waves of customers coming in. And after close was the last one. That's probably when they're doing more work. Yeah.
I was going to suggest you look at when you work with dough in Papa Murphy's. Anything with flour is going to kick particulates in the air.
Yeah.
In fact, bakers have problems with an occupational exposure breathing in flour dust.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. We usually do most of that before most people start coming in. So that was before I got in there, so it's good. Thank you. All right, any more questions?
Do you think that the spikes might have had to do with sweeping and mopping during times?
Probably. Yeah, that's kind of probably what it looked like. About the time we got done was when most of it was some big spikes there. Probably a lot of that came from sweeping and mopping.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a guy here from Spokane, Washington. So Randy Knuth, Dr. Randy Knuth, can you raise your hand? He's way in the back.
Said he's going to be doing the clicking, which is the mouse or the arrow. And just keep an eye on me for the timing. That should be good to go. Okay.
Okay, we're from Big Sky High School, and we did different air qualities in different houses around Missoula. I'm Alyssa Jimenez. This is Peter, Gabby, Sloan, Dominica, Teal, and Tyler. We were wondering what the different parts around the Missoula Valley would have concerning air quality. We expected results in air quality outside Missoula to be better than in town. For our procedure, we just went to different houses, 4 houses of each of us, and took air quality 3 different times to get an average.
Okay, so this was our first location. It's up on South Hills by a golf course, kind of in the middle, outskirts, middle of town. The average maximum was about 0.065, which is greater than the 6.7, which is greater than what you would want at 0.35. Our second one.
Our second location is behind a Home Depot, close to Reserve Street, and the average maximum was 0.054, which is still higher than the daily standard.
The third location was at 3500 Carl Court, which is out Mullen Road, pretty close, just a couple miles from Frenchtown. 3 measurements were done at my house, and the average maximum was 0.038, which is just above the standard daily average.
Our fourth location was Diagon Lane, which is over near the airport off of Expressway, and the average was 0.094, which is way over the standard daily average.
Okay, so for our conclusion, the air quality at Diagon Lane was the worst, which is out by the airport, which can be involved with the jet exhaust. There's construction out there right next to the highway, so high traffic, gravel pits, a lot of dust from all of that being blown around and moved. The air quality by Carl Court, which was out Mullen, was the best. It's an open area, out of town, not a lot of traffic for having people coming through. Any questions?
Yes. Were these, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. Were these indoor measurements or outdoor measurements?
They were indoor.
Indoor.
They were indoor.
Oh.
One of them were out.
It was both.
One more time?
It was both. Some of them were indoor and some of them were outdoor.
Anything else?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Danielle Schroed. This is Anna Went and Lauren Stanberry from Whitefish High School in Mr. Spangler's chemistry class. Our air quality project is on coffee shops.
So our hypothesis is that the busier drive-through coffee shops are, the more air pollution that they will promote.
And our research question was, do the coffee makers or car exhaust and drive-through coffee shops worsen the air? How we tested the air. Before testing, we contacted each of the owners of the coffee shops and told them about our project. And then while we were testing it, we put dust tracks in all 3 of them and ran them for 2 days. And then afterwards, we collected the data and put them into graphs to show the results.
Does anyone in here like coffee? Raise, show of hands. Yes, alrighty then. We also love coffee a whole bunch, and so on one of our multiple trips to one of the coffee shops, we were just thinking about what we would do for our air quality project, and it occurred to us that while idling in the car waiting for our orders, that might contribute to the air pollution.
And then we also further hypothesized that the coffee makers themselves would also contribute.
So this is the area where we placed the dust track. It's, you can kind of see the, you can kind of see on the right top hand corner, that's the window where the orders come in, and then the coffee equipment is just all around it. So we tried to get it as close as possible between the window and the coffee equipment. And so this is our first test. There's an Army-Navy store, and it's kind of in front of that. So the light purple line at the top is the EPA limits. And mostly it was under the limits except for one spike around 7 o'clock in the evening. And our maximum for this one was 0.05. And we made a mistake. The minimum is actually supposed to be 0.003, and the average is 0.006.
Alrighty then. This one was in front of the Pizza Hut on 93. There wasn't too terribly much going on at the beginning. There was a couple spikes over the limit. We guess that that's just from some random little thing there. The maximum was 0.11 milligrams per meters cubed. The minimum being 0 and the average is 0.005.
And then our third test was on Wisconsin Avenue. It was right in front of a car wash. And as you can see, the purple line right there is the EPA limit. And there was only one spike that went over the EPA limit. And our maximum was 0.042 milligrams per meter squared. Our minimum was 0.001, and our average was 0.004. So our conclusion is that from the results we received, our hypothesis was incorrect mostly. The air quality did spike a few times, but we didn't keep track of how much business they got, which is something that if we ever tested again, we would definitely do. So we don't really know if it was the more traffic they got, the higher the spikes were, but mostly the tests were well within the EPA limits. Those are our references.
Any questions?
Yes.
What part of making the coffee did you think was going to create particulate matter?
Well, after doing some research, we discovered that there was particulate matter emissions when you roast coffee beans. We weren't really sure which coffee shops actually did their own roasting or whether they just acquired the beans from other places. So we weren't sure if it was going to be from just in general, the steam from the machines or anything like that, maybe something that runs the machines, the power source. Yes?
If I were going to look at impacts from drive-through traffic, I might want to note whether the vehicle coming through is either a gasoline vehicle or a diesel vehicle. I would maybe have a nice hypothesis that when a diesel came through, you might see a spike because they give off much more particulates.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Keep an eye on me for time. Okay? Who wants to go first? Okay, have fun.
I'm Charlie Carpenter. This is Matt Kennedy, Stella Holt, and McKenna Johnson. We are from Whitefish High School, and our chemistry teacher is Mr. Spangler. Our main research topic was, does Nordic ski waxing have a significant threat to air quality? And our hypothesis was that it actually does, that the PM 2.5 levels will exceed the EPA outdoor limit.
All right, we chose this project because I am part of the Nordic ski team and we spend a lot of time waxing our skis, and we thought it would be interesting to see if our wax room has good air quality or not. So prior to testing, we set the dust track location and filled out a questionnaire about it. During the test period, I monitored the test area for an hour or for 2 hours to establish a baseline without people coming in and out. Then we waxed skis for an hour, and the whole time we documented the activities in the test area. Afterwards, we recorded the numbers minimum, maximum, and average levels. Here's some pictures of our wax room. That door was open and closed, in and out. These are while people are waxing, and we clearly don't have the greatest ventilation system.
So, here's the graph. You can see, if I can get the laser pointer going. Okay, well, for the bottom 2 hours right there, we were just collecting data. You have a couple spikes just from people walking in and out. Right after the 2 hour mark, people started waxing skis. You can see a really significant spike. It goes up and down. I'd imagine that the door opening and closing could account for some of the particulate matter escaping. Huge numbers though, as far as air quality.
Okay, so as we know, the EPA limit is 0.035 milligrams per cubic meter. And over the course, our average, I believe that includes the baseline as well, was 0.142 milligrams per cubic meter. Minimum being quite low when nobody was going in or out at 0.003. And the maximum, this is really, really high, is 2.117 milligrams per cubic meter, which is, I'd say, downright unhealthy.
From our conclusion, or from our data, we concluded that, yes, the PM 2.5 levels spiked slightly as people came in and out and moved around in the wax room. But once waxing started, as you could see on the graph, they spiked in huge amounts and we had huge levels of particles in the air. They slowly decreased as the waxing stopped and the air moved in and out of the room. We thought about some improvements to the test. We only did this for one afternoon of waxing. It would be great to do it a couple more times and keep the door consistently closed in the waxing area. Also, we had different numbers of people waxing, from like 1 to maybe 4 or 5 people on irons and benches scraping also. We could test different areas of the room. We kept the dust track in one place, which was somewhat close to the door. Maybe if we had put it closer to where the irons were running, we could have gotten different results. Also, with Nordic waxes, there are different chemicals that are used in them, including like fluoros. And I did not keep track of which waxes were being used this afternoon that we tested. And the different chemicals in the waxes could cause different air quality results. There are references. Questions? Yes.
Do you guys have any ventilation, extra ventilation in that room besides what's in the rest of the building? There's no extra fan or...
I think we might have like one type of fan in the ceiling, but I don't think it does much.
Nothing that goes to an outside wall, through an outside wall?
No, we do like the door open, close, depending on how cold it is. But
That door that you're talking about, was that to another part of the building? Or?
No, that's outside.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times did you wax it?
Well, our team is like 10 or 11 people, and I think almost everybody waxed their skis that afternoon, sometimes 2 or 3 pairs of skis, so I don't know, that's a lot of waxing going on.
How often is that?
This was a day before we were leaving for a trip to go to a race, so everyone needed to wax their skis. We would probably do this 1 to 2 times a week, maybe, depending on
not necessarily as big as this night that we did it.
Do you plan to try to ask the school for any changes, adding a filter or a fan or anything?
That would be really nice. We're not funded by the school though, so I'd have to ask somebody else.
Okay, great job.
Somebody ripped the, that's weird. They got nervous, I think. Just wrenched it off. Okay, I think Big Sky's the only one left, right?
So this is the presentation we've all been waiting for. For one, we've heard really good things about this presentation, and secondly, it's the last presentation. So Big Sky High School.
Last but not least.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are talking to you guys about the drill. Just hold it as close to your face as is humanly possible. You can use the space bar or the arrows to move it and just keep an eye on me for time. And then we'll have lunch.
All right, so we're from Big Sky High School. I'm Chanel Packinen.
I'm Lauren Dabrowski.
I'm Kirby Catino.
I'm Chelsea McGamble.
I'm Hannah Kovas.
And I'm Janie Sheridan.
And we decided to test the air quality in the 3 different public high schools. And our teacher is Mr. Jones. Our question/purpose was which public high school has the highest particulate level, and to find out which high school has the highest concentration in 3 different locations: in a gym area, a science classroom, and outside the front doors of the schools.
So, our hypothesis was that Hellgate would have the highest particulate level for 3 reasons. One is that it is the oldest building. It is 100 years old, so we thought dust and mold would have accumulated there over a long period of time. 2 is that its location is right downtown, so there's always a steady stream of traffic, and it's right near a residential area. The 3rd one is that it has the highest population of kids that go to the school, so there'd be more particulate level.
Okay, and to collect our data, we took 9 samples total. We took 3 samples from each school, Missoula, Hellgate, Big Sky, and Sentinel. And at each site, we measured it for an hour. And so we thought that we'd get pretty accurate results because we took it from 3 different sites in the school, outside the door, the front doors, in the gym, and then in a science classroom.
Okay, our first testing was in a science classroom, and it's 3 graphs all in one. The top one is Hellgate, middle one Sentinel, and the bottom one's Big Sky. Hellgate did prove to have the highest concentration of air particles, and Big Sky proved to be the lowest.
Okay, and next was our gyms, and again, Hellgate's on top, Big Sky's in the middle, and Sentinel's on bottom. And Sentinel proved to have the highest for the gyms, and we're guessing that because of the size of the gym mostly. Was it Hellgate that was the lowest? Yes. Oh, Big Sky was the lowest, never mind. So.
And then for our 3rd graph, for the outside, Hellgate had the highest concentration, about like 6 micrograms per cubic meter. We thought that, again, because of its location. And then Sentinel had around like 4 micrograms per cubic meter, and then Big Sky was the lowest. And we're thinking also that the density of the parking lots might have affected it, because Big Sky is more spread out, Sentinel is again more dense, and then Hellgate, they have to park right around the school.
All right, and then for our conclusion, our hypothesis was supported by a section of our data. Hellgate proved to have the highest concentration level for outside, and that can be accounted for its location. But then, however, our hypothesis was not supported by the other 2 areas of our data collection. Sentinel had the highest concentration for a gym, and we made a mistake. It was, she meant to say that Sentinel had the highest for a science classroom as well. And we thought this might be from an open window, or, yeah.
Okay, and some of our uncontrolled variables that might have affected our data. So the weather, because we were measuring it all year, sometimes when we were doing it outside, if it was raining or snowing or sunny and or windy, that would have affected our results. And then the time of day, we usually tried to do it all at the same time, like after school we'd go, but sometimes because of how busy everyone is, we do it at different times, and how populated the school was at the time would affect it. So the time of day obviously had an effect. And then other activities in the gym or the setup of the classroom also affected it. For example, when we took our measurements in our gym, on one of the days we had a science circus going on, so there was obviously more people in the gym then than there normally would have been. And then with the setups of the different classrooms, usually when we went in to take the measurements for the science classrooms, a window was open in some of the schools, so that would have affected our results. So, okay, and thank you.
We'd like to thank Mr. Jones for being our mentor and the teachers at Sentinel and Hellgate. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry, I may have missed something. I don't know if you can go back to the graphics, or maybe I just, it said Big Sky was the lowest in all three, but it looked like on a couple of them, Sentinel was listed as the lowest on the graphic. Was that, am I reading that wrong, or?
I don't think you're reading incorrectly. Which graph are you kind of referring to?
Our graphs, when we were trying to put the graphs together, we were overlaying the channels, and we couldn't figure out how to get them to go on top, so it was kind of like misread, but Sentinel, it looked at the bottom, but yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, let's give a round of applause for all the presenters today. So every single year the presentations keep getting better and better and better, so it's pretty cool to see. So in a few minutes we're going to break for lunch, but before we do that we're going to give away some stuff, specifically to our celebrity judges and then to our poster judges. Okay, we're going to call the celebrity judges up one at a time, and if you could come up here and get your award or your gift, and then we're going to get a picture of you right here too. So let's start with Russ Thomas.
I'm going to give a speech. No, I just want to thank, I was going to say this is like what the 4th or 5th year I've done this. The idea is this time, easily, I was talking to Darren about this years ago, so much better, so creative, so you guys did an awesome job, should be proud of it. And everybody did a good job. Somebody's going to win and somebody's not, but everything is really good. So.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, you might as well stay up, and then we'll get a picture of all 5 of you.
So Garen Smith, or G-Wiz.
It's nice to see one of my own students do well with leading a conference like this. It just gets better and better every year. I was thinking when I heard 21 presentations, oh Lordy, how am I going to stay interested? Well, you did a marvelous job. The time went by in just a flash, so very creative projects.
So Mr. Ben Schmidt, Missoula City County Health Department.
I'd just like to say that it's getting tougher to judge this competition as the years go on, just because there's getting to be a lot of consistency, and the basics are definitely being learned by all the schools. So I just want to say thanks, and I've seen some information that we've actually been able to use at the health department that led us to some other studies around town. Thanks.
Good.
All right, Mr. Eric Burgess.
Yeah, the waxing was really exciting for me. I was also impressed with the variety of projects this year, and also some of them had, or more of them this year had more real-life applications, significant things we care about. We all know that some things make more particulate matter than others, but it's nice to see those comparisons of the things that are important to us, and also things that we can do something about. Next year I'm hoping to see more solutions presented to some of these problems, but I was really impressed this year. It's getting better every year, and it was great.
Good.
Okay, Dr. Andre Holian.
I agree with what has already been said. A lot of interesting projects, great hypotheses, and believe me, doing the judging is really a hard job. You think you got it tough giving the presentations. Evaluating all of your presentations has been a real challenge, and so a credit to all of you.
Okay, we're going to get a picture of you guys together. So, Director Nancy?
Yes.
Where do you want everybody?
Come this way. Our movie. Is this good this way right here? I think so, yeah. Work with me, work with me.
Yeah.
Five handsome guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Hey, if you want to take I'll just okay, next up, poster judges.
All right, so now we're going to introduce the poster judges. So the judging has been done, so 33 posters have been evaluated, and then they pulled out the top 6. So can all 6 posters stand up, just so we can see everybody? 6 semifinalists, so give a hand for a round of applause. Okay, so after lunch, we're going to announce who the first, second, and third places are. But first, we're going to acknowledge our poster judges. So first off, Diana Bannock, come on down. With the University of Montana Center for Environmental Sciences. Mary Buford. Center for Environmental
Sciences. Keep up the good work. Great posters.
Come on.
Great posters.
They're great posters. So Jackie Hunhausen, who's a PhD candidate in toxicology.
Good job, you guys.
So Carolyn Pester, University of Montana Center for Environmental Sciences. Carolyn is actually the head poster judge, so the head poster wrangler, so I'll let her say a few words. And she was the science teacher at Victor High School for a long time. Before we stole her, now she worked for us.
Well, I'd like to say that this year we did have posters that were a step above the previous years, which is awesome. It sounds like it's the same as the PowerPoints. And you'll all have to go out and check out the posters during lunch. Great job, you guys.
So we get a picture of you guys together.
Let's just do it right here. Yeah.
Okay, let's start it back up. Now comes the fun part where we get to figure out who won. But before we get to that point, we got to talk to you guys and thank a couple of people. So without the funding from several agencies, we couldn't have this event. So real fast, I wanted to thank the Montana Department of Environmental Quality, Montana DEQ. So they provided $5,000 for our symposium this year. So we also had funding from National Institute of Health Science Education Partnership Award, EPA Region 10, National Institute of Environmental Sciences, 3M Corporation, Toyota USA Foundation, and the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. So thank our sponsors. So now we get to thank the people that actually helped out with the symposium today. So people up here didn't know I was going to do this, so I wanted to personally thank the folks that spent a lot of their time putting the symposium together. So there's hours and hours and hours of work that went into this. And because it went so smoothly, maybe you didn't realize that all the people that were involved with this. But so I'm going to introduce a couple people. So that's Marcy McNamara up there on the top right. So Marcy, why don't you come down here? Marcy's our timekeeper, and we actually have a little gift for Marcy because she did such a great job. We actually finished early this year. Nice job, Marcy. So then Emily Weiler, is Emily still here?
I don't think Emily's here.
So Mohammed? Where's Mohammed?
We're going to get your picture.
We're going to get a group photo. So Mohammed was in charge of rounding people up outside. So then some other folks that were involved. So that's Aaron Simmons. That's up on the far right. So Aaron, come on, Aaron. Megan Berghoff, who's a postdoc here at the Center for Environmental Sciences. Is she here? Megan. Desiree's been taking her wife's picture today. So there's Desiree right there. So then our poster judges. So this is Jackie Hunthausen. Mary Buford. And Carolyn Hester, who's our lead poster judge.
Diana came through as a poster judge today because we had so many poster judges, so awesome, thanks. Or so many posters.
So then, last but certainly not least, Dr. Earl Adams. Where's Earl? This is an action photo of Nancy Mara, our honorary Then I think we need to get a picture of all these guys.
Well, but Desiree needs to be in it.
I'll take a picture.
Okay.
All right.
That's enough.
Come on over here.
No, we can just do this. So we can have that background.
Taller people in the back. Aaron?
Alright, everyone smile. Come on. Right here. Camera.
All right. now we get to thank the teachers. So the teachers are the ones that make this all happen. So we're going to call down the teachers one at a time. We're going to give them a little gift. So Dave Jones, Big Sky High School. Melissa Hinthorn, Hellgate High School. Brock Hamill, Corvallis High School. Paul Smith, Ladway High School. Brett Taylor, Sentinel High School. Misty Cunningham, Butte Central. Last but certainly not least, Todd Spangler, Whitefish High School. Now we're going to introduce the point students. So these are the students that made the programs happen within the schools.
What do point students do?
I don't know. So they make stuff happen within the schools. So they're the ones that actually do all the logistics. They work with the other students to plan stuff out. They make sure stuff is getting done. Right?
Yeah. They calibrate the dust track, clean the dust track, schedule. All right.
From Whitefish and Alex here, I really want to thank Alex. He saved me a lot of time this year. It's a lot of time. Can they come down? The point people are really the people behind the scenes. So the kids from Whitefish don't know this, but Alex was involved in a lot of this work. So you know, thank you.
From Sentinel High School, it's Jason Berry. Jason's got some issues as far as graduating here pretty quick, so he had to go back to school.
So if we give this to you, will you really give it?
You just want to
You'll make sure Shelby gets this.
from Big Sky, it's Megan Barthelmess and Anna Marie Kaufman. From Corvallis, it's Eric Kirscher, professional dust trap cleaner.
Stay up there, we're going to get a picture.
John would have been here with us this week. He actually qualified to go to state with us. You can see they don't have a race for him. Don, your head is on fire.
Can I get everyone just to squeeze
Okay, thanks guys. Okay, now we're going to announce the winner for the poster. So third place is Lifeway High School. Mary James and Isaac Finkel. For second place, we have White Fish High School. Tyler Boswell and Jenny So how much is the third place award for?
Third place for posters is $50 gift certificate to the University of Montana Bookstore.
Second place is
$75.
So first place in the poster session is Sentinel High School. We have Josh and Colin. So this was the most posters we've ever had at this session, or this symposium. All right, good job, guys.
All right. All right, here we go. Posters. Congratulations. PowerPoint. Here we go. Third place, $100. Gift certificate to the University of Montana bookstore. If you don't have time to go to the bookstore today, don't worry about it. You can still order online and redeem your award. All right, third place. Corvallis, Kyle Ludicky, Lincoln Schrock, and Lucas Walden. On down to Corvallis. Now, Kyle, is this, what was the name of your project?
Indoor appliances.
Indoor what?
Indoor appliances.
All right.
So second place, Whitefish High School, Joe, Christian, and Nathan.
What was the name of your project? Yeah, so
So this was the ski wax project. One of the ski wax project. So by our calculations, I think there's one left, right? So that would be the grand prize. So who is the winner?
Sentinel High School, Brandon Shannon.
So he was in a suit before, he changed his light, that's familiar. So this is the Artificial Neural Network project. So I think we're almost done here. Once again, thanks for coming to the 6th Annual Symposium. You guys have been awesome. The quality of the presentations just gets higher and higher every single year. And I guess we'll be here again this time next year. And hopefully some of these projects will be featured, and you guys are legends now in the Air Toxins program lore. Thank you very much.